Did this happen to you when you notice something for the first time and then suddenly seeing it everywhere you go? For example, you might learn a new word or see a specific model of a car, and then within the next 24 hours, you hear that word on the radio and see that car parked on your street. This creates a powerful feeling that the world is suddenly filled with this new thing, or that some strange coincidence is happening, but it is actually a result of how your brain filters information. It's called the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon. Your brain is constantly bombarded with thousands of pieces of data every second, and to prevent overwhelm, it ignores most of it. This is called selective attention. When you learn something new, your brain marks that information as relevant or interesting. Suddenly, the filter that was hiding that specific detail is removed. The car was always there, and the word was always being spoken, but your brain was simply deleting it from your conscious awareness before it could reach your attention. The second part of this process is known as frequency illusion. Once you notice the item a few times in a short period, your brain begins to believe that the actual frequency of the item has increased in the real world. This is because our minds are wired to find patterns and meaning in our environment. Instead of realizing that we are simply paying better attention, we feel as though the object itself has become more common. This can lead to a sense of mystery or the feeling that the universe is trying to tell us something. This phenomenon is very common in learning and medicine. Students often report that after learning about a rare disease or a specific historical event, they start seeing references to it in movies, books, and news articles almost immediately. It is a sign that your brain is actively integrating new knowledge and refining its internal map of the world. By turning on the spotlight of your attention, you are essentially telling your brain to keep a lookout for that specific piece of information, making the invisible world suddenly visible. The reticular activating system, or RAS, is the physical gatekeeper in your brain responsible for this phenomenon. Located in the brainstem, this bundle of nerves acts like a high-tech filter for the massive amount of sensory data coming in from your eyes, ears, and skin. Its primary job is to decide what is important enough to send to your conscious mind and what should be discarded as background noise. When you learn a new concept or buy a new pair of shoes, you are essentially giving the RAS a new instruction to let that specific information through the gate. Once the RAS has been alerted to the importance of a specific detail, it becomes hypervigilant. This is why you can hear your own name mentioned in a loud, crowded room, even if you're not paying attention to the conversation. Your brain is always scanning for signals that match your personal interests, needs, or recent experiences. The Baader-Meinhof phenomenon is simply the RAS doing its job a little too well, making you feel as though a rare coincidence is occurring when in reality, you're just seeing the world with a new set of priorities. In the world of advertising, companies use this psychological quirk to create a sense of omnipresence. This is often called the illusion of truth. When a brand shows you an ad for a product, and then you see an influencer mention it, and then you see a billboard for it, your brain begins to believe that the product is a major trend. Even if you only saw 3 instances of the brand, your frequency illusion makes it feel like the product is everywhere. This builds trust and familiarity because the human brain tends to favor things that it perceives as common or popular. The beauty of this phenomenon is that it reveals how much of our reality is actually a choice of focus. The world is an infinite sea of details, and we only ever experience a tiny fraction of it. By intentionally choosing what to learn or what to value, you are effectively training your brain to see more of those things in your daily life. It proves that the environment around us is not a fixed, static place, but a dynamic field that shifts and changes based on what we have decided to pay attention to. The Baader-Meinhof phenomenon can sometimes lead people toward false beliefs or conspiracy theories because of the way the brain handles coincidences. When you notice a specific symbol or a phrase twice in a short period, the frequency illusion makes it feel like a significant pattern rather than a random chance. If a person is already looking for signs of a conspiracy, their reticular activating system will filter out all the normal, mundane information and only highlight the things that support their theory. This creates a powerful but false sense of evidence, as the brain ignores the thousands of times that same pattern did not appear. On a more positive note, you can consciously use this knowledge to accelerate your learning of a new language. When you learn a new vocabulary word, you should intentionally look for it in books, songs, or movies immediately after. By telling your brain that this specific word is important, you are essentially priming your reticular activating system to catch in the wild. This turns every interaction with the language into a game of recognition. Because your brain is now scanning for that word, you will notice it much more often, which reinforces the memory through natural repetition and context. This effect also plays a role in how we perceive our own luck. People who consider themselves lucky often experience a positive version of this phenomenon. Because they're looking for opportunities and good news, their brain filters the environment for those specific things, making them more likely to notice a job opening, a helpful person, or a small win. Meanwhile, someone who believes they are unlucky might only notice the red lights and the minor inconveniences because that is what their brain has been trained to prioritize. In both cases, the world remains the same, but the internal filter creates a completely different life experience. Understanding the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon teaches us that our perception of reality is highly subjective. We do not see the world as it is. We see the world as we are tuned to see it. It highlights the importance of being mindful about what we feed our minds. By focusing on growth, kindness, or new skills, we are literally changing the filter through which we experience every moment of our day. It is a reminder that we have more control over our conscious experience than we might think, simply by choosing where we place the spotlight of our attention. The connection between this phenomenon and scientific progress is seen in the concept of multiple discovery. This is the historical pattern where the same invention or scientific breakthrough is made by different people in different locations at almost exactly the same time. Because a specific problem or new piece of data becomes the focus of the global scientific community, the brains of researchers everywhere begin filtering for the same specific clues. Their collective attention is tuned to the same frequency, making the eventual solution feel like an inevitable burst of widespread insight rather than an isolated miracle. When it comes to the feeling of déjà vu, there is a similar glitch in how the brain processes time and attention. Some researchers believe that déjà vu occurs when there is a split-second delay between when one part of the brain receives sensory information and when the rest of the brain catches up. If your reticular activating system is already primed to look for a certain pattern and you encounter a situation that matches it, the brain might accidentally flag the information twice. This makes the present moment feel like a repetition of a past event because the brain is recognizing a pattern only just finished processing a millisecond ago. This also explains why some people feel a sense of fate or destiny when they experience the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon. If you've been thinking about a major life change, like moving to a new city, and then you suddenly see that city mentioned in 3 different places in one day, it feels like a sign from the universe. In reality, your brain is simply in a state of high sensitivity regarding that topic. While the events themselves are random, your perception of them is deeply meaningful. It is your brain's way of confirming that this topic is currently your top priority, providing you with the internal evidence you need to make a decision. Ultimately, this phenomenon serves as a reminder of the power of the subconscious mind. Even when you're not actively trying to think about something, your brain is working behind the scenes, scanning the environment for anything that matches your current interests or needs. It is like having a personal assistant that is constantly looking through the giant pile of the world's data and pulling out the bits that matter to you. By understanding how this gatekeeping process works, you can become the director of your own attention, intentionally choosing which patterns you want to invite into your reality.